ओके, लिटरेचर 101 में आपका स्वागत है। हमारा टॉपिक जो आज का है वो है एब्सर्ड लिटरेचर, है ना, जिसे हम अब्सर्डिज्म भी कहते हैं, जिसे हम थिएटर ऑफ द अब्सर्ड भी कहते हैं, अब्सर्डिज्म। ठीक है, क्या होता है ये? द टर्म इज अप्लाइड टू अ नंबर ऑफ वर्क्स इन ड्रामा एंड प्रोज फिक्शन which have in common the view that human condition is essentially absurd and that this condition can be adequately represented only in works of literature that are themselves absurd। क्या मतलब हुआ? मतलब ये है कि ये जो टर्म है एब्सर्ड, एब्सर्डिज्म, इस टर्म को हम यूज़ करते हैं कब? इन टू अ नंबर ऑफ वर्क्स इन ड्रामा। सो कुछ ड्रामा में, कुछ ड्रामा के जो वर्क्स है, कुछ ड्रामाज जो है, एंड जो कुछ पोस्ट सेक्शन है, इन दोनों में ही हम इस टर्म का यूज़ करते हैं। और इसके अंदर कॉमन क्या है? इन विच ये जो ड्रामाज है और ये जो प्रोज फिक्शन है जिनमें हम एब्सर्डिज्म का टैग लगाते हैं, इसमें कॉमन क्या है? इसमें कॉमन ये है दैट द व्यू, जो व्यू है वो क्या है? द ह्यूमन कंडीशन इज एसेंशियली अब्सर्ड, कि जो हमारा ह्यूमन का कंडीशन है ना, कि हम लोगों का जो वे ऑफ लाइफ है ये एक अब्सर्ड है। देखिए क्या होता है, इससे पहले आपको थोड़ा बहुत समझना पड़ेगा, वो है निहिलिज्म क्या है। निहिलिज्म है कि जो लाइफ में कोई इनहेरेंट मीनिंग नहीं है ना, कोई डिवाइन कमेंडमेंट नहीं हो रखा है कि आपको ज़िंदगी में ये करना है, या जैसे कि हम बच्चे को जो है हम बोलते हैं कि आपका जो एम है वो है कॉलेज पास करना है, या फिर जो है 90% लाना। तो बच्चे को पता है कि मुझे क्या करना है, बच्चे को पता है कि मुझे 90% लाना है। अगर मैं 90% ले आऊँगा या मैं अच्छे परसेंटेज फर्स्ट आऊँगा, सब कुछ अच्छा होगा। सो उसके लिए एक वे ऑफ लाइफ, एक रीज़न टू लिव है उस पर्टिकुलर एक साल के अंदर। बट अगर आप पूरे ह्यूमन लाइफ को सोचे, ह्यूमन लाइफ के बारे में सोचे, देयर इज़ नथिंग टू डू, है ना। ऐसा कुछ है नहीं कि अगर आप ये कर लोगे तो सब कुछ सुखी हो जाएगा ना, कोई ज़िंदगी में कोई सफरिंग नहीं, सब ठीक हो जाएगा, है ना। आइडियोलॉजीज़ है बट कोई प्रूफ नहीं है। सो अपने आप कोई इनहेरेंट मीनिंग ऑफ लाइफ नहीं है कि हमें ये करना है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। और बिकॉज ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, कुछ भी करना एब्सर्ड है कि आप कर भी लो तो भी क्या, है ना। अगर मैं जो है प्रोफेसर बन गया तो भी क्या क्या ही हो जाएगा, है ना, कुछ रुपए आएंगे, ठीक है। बट देन उसके बाद भी घर में डेथ होने वाला है, उसके बाद भी जो है लोग छोड़ के चले जाने वाले हैं, उसके बाद मेरा हेल्थ वीक होने वाला है, मैं मर जाऊँगा इवेंचुअली, सब कुछ फिर भी होना ही है। सो एक ऐसे पर्सन लाइक अगर हम बोले कि इतने सालों में जो लोग, जिनकी मौत हो चुकी है, जिन्होंने करोड़ों कमाया, सी अलेक्जेंडर जिसने दुनिया जीता, क्या ही कर दिया। वो दुनिया जीत के भी तो मरना ही था। और मेरा इस पॉइंट पे लाइक ये सब पढ़ाने के बाद भी तो एंड में मरना ही है। सो इफ़ यू सी इट इन अ लार्ज स्केल, तो देर इज़ नो मीनिंग, लॉस ऑफ मीनिंग है, कोई कुछ कुछ मीनिंग नहीं है। हम कुछ लाइक इन अ वेरी प्लेन गावड़ा भाषा, रस्टिक लैंग्वेज, इट्स लाइक कि कुछ उखाड़ नहीं लेंगे हम लोग, है ना। तो देर इज़ नो रीज़न टू लिव, एंड इसमें कोई रीज़न फाइंड करना या कुछ करना है सीम्स मोर लाइक एन एब्सर्ड। तो इसे हम कहते हैं कि ह्यूमन कंडीशन जो है वो एब्सर्ड है ना, कि पता नहीं क्या कर रहे हैं ये लोग, है ना। अगर आप जो है आपके सामने कोई एक आदमी होगा, इमेजिन कि आप एक फील्ड में है ना, या फुटबॉल फील्ड में है, मैं आपको लेके गया फुटबॉल फील्ड में, कुछ बच्चों को मैं लेके गया और मैंने उनको बोला कि चलो यहाँ पे ये लो, है ना, फुटबॉल फील्ड में उनको बस छोड़ दिया। नाउ इट्स लाइक वो क्या करेंगे? देयर इज़ नथिंग टू डू, है ना, क्या करेंगे? अगर मैंने बोला कि चलो गेम खेलते हैं, नाउ मेकिंग गोल मेक सेंस बिकॉज देयर इज समथिंग टू डू, देयर इज गोल करोगे तुम जीतोगे, देयर इज समथिंग टू डू। बट अगर मैंने को ऐसे ही छोड़ दिया, देन गोल करो ना करो क्या फ़ायदा, कोई देख ही नहीं रहा तुमको, है ना। देयर इज़ नो रीज़न टू लिव। सो अगर हम ह्यूमन कंडीशन को बहुत बड़े वेज में देखें, पूरे लाइफ के में तोले, सो इट सीम्स लाइक कि देयर इज़ नो इनहेरेंट रीज़न टू लिव, इसे निहिलिज्म कहते हैं। वहाँ से जो निहिलिज्म का एक रिस्पॉन्स है वो है एब्सर्डिज्म, कि वट एवर यू डू इट्स एब्सर्ड। सो वही उसी ह्यूमन कंडीशन को जब हम नॉवल या जब हम प्रोज वर्क के अंदर देखते हैं, तो हम वी से ये एब्सर्ड लिटरेचर का पार्ट है, ठीक है। ओके, both the mood and the dramaturgy of absurdity were anticipated in as early as 1896 in Alfred Jarry's French play, जिसे हम कहते हैं उबू द किंग। ये एक फ्रेंच प्ले है, अल्फ्रेड जरी का है, और इसके अंदर हम लोगों को स्टार्टिंग एलिमेंट्स जो है देखने को मिल गए थे। अब्सर्डिज्म के जो टच है, अब्सर्डिज्म का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, वो यहाँ पे हमें इंट्रोड्यूस होता दिख गया था। द लिटरेचर हैज़ इट्स रूट्स ऑल्सो इन द मूवमेंट्स ऑफ एक्सप्रेशनिज्म एंड सर्रियलिज्म। तो आपको एक्सप्रेशनिज्म जो हम बाद में पढ़ेंगे और सर्रियलिज्म जो भी हम बाद में पढ़ेंगे, दोनों में ही आपको थोड़ा बहुत टच देखने को मिल जाएगा ना। जो एब्सर्डिज्म के कुछ एलिमेंट्स हैं वो वहाँ पे ही आपको देखने को मिल जाएंगे। एज वेल एज इन फिक्शन रिटन इन द 1920s। अब देखिए 1920s में कुछ फिक्शन वर्क्स थे, जिनमें से बहुत ही पॉपुलर जो पर्सन है वो है फ्रांस काफ्का। आप इन्हें फ्रैंक काफ्का भी बोल सकते हैं, आप इन्हें फ्रांस काफ्का भी बोल सकते हैं। ये फेमस है एक टर्म के लिए जिसे हम कहते हैं काफ्कास्क, है ना। ये आपको पता होना चाहिए काफ्कास्क। सो इनके दो मेजर वर्क्स है, एक है द ट्रायल, बहुत ही फेमस है, और एक है द मेटामॉर्फोसिस, ये भी बहुत इसमें आपको आपको याद है ग्रेगरी वाला जो कैरेक्टर है वो इसमें आपको देखने को मिलेगा, जो ही गोज थ्रू अ बॉडी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन एंड ही ट्रांसफॉर्म्स इनटू अ बग, है ना। सो द ट्रायल एंड मेटामॉर्फोसिस दोनों इन्हीं के वर्क्स हैं, और दोनों के अंदर ही वी सी एब्सर्डिज्म के एलिमेंट्स, है ना, कि ह्यूमन लाइफ कैसे अब्सर्ड है, कैसे ह्यूमन कंडीशन जो है अब्सर्ड है। हमें ट्रायल और मेटामॉर्फोसिस दोनों में ही ये देखने को मिलता है। ट्रायल के अंदर वी सी अ पर्टिकुलर मैन, वी सी अ मैन जिसे अरेस्ट कर लिया जाता है एंड ही गोज थ्रू अ ट्रायल, जबकि हमें ये भी नहीं पता कि उसने क्या क्राइम किया। वी डोंट नो कि व्हाट ही डिड, वी नेवर रियली गेट टू नो कि व्हाट इज द एग्जैक्ट क्राइम दैट ही इज चार्ज्ड फॉर। And then obviously in metamorphosis we see a particular person who is providing for his family, and suddenly one day he wakes up and he finds he has transformed into a bug. And then we see the responses of his family in the following weeks. We see how their point of view for him changes, how their treatment of this particular person Gregory changes, you know? And we see absurdism in both these works, and hence they are in this list. The current movement, however, emerged in France after the horrors of World War II. So when did this this absurdism, where it started from? See, obviously in our past, say in around 1800s or 1700s, people used to be very much into like God or theism, and people used to believe that there's a God, there's, we need to, like, we live through our lives because at the end we will be in meeting with that particular, with God, or will gain what we call moksha or peace or something like that. But after World War II, people, because they prayed a lot, they prayed during World War first and second that, please leave my people alone, like for example, अगर मेरा बेटा गया है in war, I would want, if I'm a very religious person, I would pray to my God that please, whatever happens, bring him safely to me. But as you know, World War I, World War II में there's countless lives were lost, so people's faith dwindled, and suddenly they found they adapted this belief that there is no one out there, So the current movement, this absurdism, however, emerged in France after the horrors of the World War II as a rebellion. It's a rebellion against basic beliefs and values in traditional culture and literature. So earlier they used to believe in God, they used to believe in a particular institution, but after World War II, because they suffered great losses, they suffered changes in ideology, and now they don't really believe in all this. So hence the conditioning started that life inherently we don't have a reason to live. Inherently there is not a particular task that जो आप कर लेंगे and you would feel like okay, सब कुछ मस्त है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है ना. No, it's not gonna be there. No matter who you are, what you do, suffering will be a part of your life. No matter who you pray to, it doesn't really matter. Still you will suffer. Still you will go through heartbreak, and people, you will lose near and dear ones, and at the end of it all, you yourself will die. So that is it. Okay, so this tradition has included the assumptions that human beings are fairly rational creatures. So we are rational creatures, we think rationally. We want to find a reason to live. We want to find कि ओके ये करने से ये मिलेगा, है ना. वी आर प्रोग्राम लाइक दैट. व्हाट वी डू इज ओके, अगर मैं पढ़ूंगा तो मेरे अच्छे मार्क्स आएंगे, अगर मैं ये क्वेश्चंस कर लूँगा तो हमारा जो है ये पेपर क्लियर हो जाएगा. दिस इज हाउ वी थिंक कि देयर इज अ रीजन, एंड देन वी हैव लाइक इसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज. सो वी आर रैशनल बीइंग्स हु लिव in an at least partially intelligible universe, but our universe, it's like it doesn't really work like that, it's not like as you already know, like it doesn't really matter if you're a good person. If you're a good person, still you will experience suffering. If you're a bad person, still you will suffer from it, So no matter what you do, it doesn't really make sense, The universe, it doesn't really make sense, Like there is no one path that you follow and everything is good. It doesn't really happen. That they are part of an ordered social structure, and that they may be capable of heroism and dignity even in defeat. After the 1940s, however, there was a widespread tendency, especially prominent in the existential philosophy. See, before moving forward, you should know a bit about existentialism. What is that? That is, after nihilism, we have one response as absurdism, but then we also have another response as existentialism. What happens is that people understood that okay, we realize that there is no meaning of life. We understand that there is nihilism, there is no meaning in life, meaning of life. But still, because I have to live 100 years or say 70, 80 years, I need something to do. I cannot just say okay, there is no meaning, let's I'll cut down my throat. No, I'll still enjoy the moment, I'll still enjoy my life, I'll have a wife, I'll spend time with my near and dear ones, I'll have a job, I'll have a passion, earn money, live a luxurious life, a comfortable life, if not luxurious life, है ना? नहीं, कहीं गए? यहाँ पे नहीं, क्लास है उनका. Okay, so if not a luxurious life, at least I'll live a comfortable life. So keeping all that in my mind, I need to focus on now, the present, है ना? So I need to invent or at least have a meaning of life. If there is nothing, if in my life there is no important thing, like if I have 5 people in front of me, and if I don't feel like, very precious about someone, then like in those 5 person, if I don't identify a particular person as very important, then why would I care about those 5 people? It doesn't really make sense. So I need to have people that are very important to me, even when I know that at the end of it they will all disappear, at the end of it we will all die. Still, because we are in this moment, why not have fun? Why not have a meaning? So to create a meaning, even after knowing that it's inherently there is no meaning, and even after creating a meaning, it's absurdism. Still, even after knowing that, when you create a meaning so that you can live your life, this is known as existentialism. Okay, let's move forward. So existentialism, especially prominent in the existential philosophy of men of letters, such as, now we have names of few existentialist writers. Now notice that these people are also into absurdism too, because absurdism is kind of a response of nihilism. So these people or their texts will have certain elements of absurdism also. For example, we have Jean-Paul Sartre, who is also known as who was given the title of existentialist, but then he said, okay, I am not an existentialist, but then later he said yes to this. So we have Jean-Paul Sartre, we have Albert Camus, or you can say Albert Camus. A few people say Albert Camus, a few people say Albert Camus. Anyway, to view a human being as an isolated existent who is cast into an alien universe, to conceive the human world as possessing no inherent truth, value or meaning. So perfect portrayal, perfect representation, perfect definition of what an absurdism is. दोबारा सुनिए क्या बोला है. So they, Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, they view a human being in an isolated existent who is cast into an alien universe. So suppose you are this person and you are sent into an universe where you know nothing. There is no cause, there is no effect, there is, whatever you do, it doesn't really matter. So you are cast into an alien universe. To conceive the human world as possessing no inherent truth. So you have no inherent truth or value or meaning. Suppose you're a good person, so what? You will still suffer. Suppose you're a person who is very loyal, so what? You will still suffer. Suppose you have created your meaning, like, okay, I live to better myself or better my mother, or say praise my wife. Whatever you do, at the end of it, they will die. It doesn't really matter what you choose. It will eventually end up dead, or you will die in the process, and still you will suffer. So there is no guarantee, no nothing. And to represent human life in its fruitless search for purpose and significance. So we as humans, what we're trying to do is we're trying to search for a purpose, for a significance which is not there. It's fruitless. We don't really get it. When you read works like Myth of Sisyphus or Waiting for God, you understand the meaning of it. No matter what you do, no matter what you search, you will not really get it. Even after getting it, it will not satisfy you, and you will keep on striving and striving. So there is no inherent meaning to life. Okay, as it moves from the nothingness whence it came towards the nothingness where it must end, and as existence which is both anguished and absurd. यहाँ से वो term आता है absurdism. So our existence is both anguished and absurd. As Camus said in his, wait a minute. Okay, so as Camus, Albert Camus, said in Myth of Sisyphus. So it's a famous work by him known as the Myth of Sisyphus, in which we hear the story of King Sisyphus, who is cursed. In more ways, he's cursed by I guess it's Zeus who cursed him. Is it Zeus? Yeah, maybe it's Zeus. So Zeus cursed him. Zeus the god. Okay, he cursed him to push a rock, a very big stone, uphill, and he keeps doing that. The Sisyphus, this king, he pushes a stone uphill up until a moment after which that when he has done that, that particular rock, it again falls down, and it will roll down, and the Sisyphus guy will again come below, and he'll again push the same thing uphill, and he'll keep doing this process. Is not it won't really end, so every time you push it up, it will again fall down, and then you have to push it again, and this keeps on repeating, just like our human life. In our human life, what we really do, we keep on living. Like, for example, how is the life of a particular person, say another teacher, or another person, or the person in the back, in the past, is different from mine. There's not much difference, when we see it from a grand scale. And that person also has lived, he has made his family, has made his relations, and I have done the same. Obviously I have done a few things here and there, but it's when you see it in a very large scale, it seems very similar. It's like how you view ants. Like, from your point of view, how is the life of a particular ant different from a particular other ant? Or when you see life of a mosquito, how do you distinguish one mosquito from another mosquito? For you, it's very similar life, even though they have chosen different path to fly, and etc, etc. They have chosen different, maybe they have relations, and etc, etc. Who knows? My point is, when seen from a greater far, like a larger perspective, we also see how we see a mosquito, or how we see an ant. Okay? And it's very repetitive, no matter what you do, you die, your child grows up, and then he lives a life, and this keeps on happening, and no significant something is produced. So it's more like absurd. Okay, so in Myth of Sisyphus, there's a line: in a universe that is suddenly deprived of illusions and light, man feels a stranger. His is an irredeemable exile. Exile means you're like captivated, you're captured, you're in exile. This divorce between man and his life, the actor and his setting, truly constitutes a feeling of absurdity. Okay? Now you will know a few works and few authors who are very related to this movement, absurdism. So we have Eugene Ionesco, the French author of The Boiled Soprano, a very good book you must read. The Lesson, 1951. We have other place in the theater of absurd. देखिए, absurdism को ही theater of the absurd बोला जाता है, दोनों same चीज़ है. So theater of the absurd has put it, cut off from his religious, metaphysical and transcendental roots, man is lost. All his actions become senseless, absurd, useless. So again, at the point when man considers कि okay, religion is pointless, and he has cut off his roots, he has, because in our earlier ages, we in our earlier, say, our ancestors used to believe in God, they used to believe in these books and etc, etc. Now people are like more like, they're noticing that they're very away from their origin, they're very away from those books and those morals and etc, etc. So they feel like more absurd, they feel like that, all meaning is, their life is very senseless, it's absurd, it's useless. Now we have, for this person Eugene Ionesco, he also said, in commenting on the mixture of moods in the literature of the absurd, that people drowning in meaninglessness can only be grotesque. Their sufferings can only appear tragic by derision. And you will see this theme in a few plays by him, in a few dramas by him. Next, and the most prominent person, the most efficient person in this particular literature is Samuel Beckett. Samuel Beckett is known for various like dramas, but his most famous work is Waiting for Godot. And then we have Endgame, obviously. Let's read a bit about him. So he is the most eminent and influential writer in this mode, absurdism, both in drama and prose fiction. He was an Irishman living in Paris, who often wrote in French and then translated his works into English. His plays such as first Waiting for Godot, 1954, second Endgame, 1958, project the irrationalism. Notice कीजिए, it's very important. So it projects the irrationalism, helplessness and absurdity of life in dramatic forms that reject realistic settings first, logical reasoning second, or a coherently evolving plot third. Now we'll read a bit about कि Waiting for Godot है क्या, है ना. So Waiting for Godot presents two tramps in a waste place fruitlessly and all, but hopelessly waiting for an unidentified person. So both of those people, they are waiting for a particular person whose name is Godot, and he never really comes, who may or may not exist, and with whom they sometimes think they remember that they have an appointment. So they're waiting for this particular person who they think that they have an appointment with, and that this person never really comes. It's in two parts, and in both parts, both acts, Godot never really appears. You know, a particular boy appears, telling that Godot will not come today. So it's like we are waiting for Godot. As like in human life, we are waiting for God. You know, we are waiting. There's so many commandments. There's so many books telling that there's a day of judgment will come. You know, that this particular person will come. You know, Kalki will come, or we have Jesus Christ will come, or you know, the day of judgment will come. You know, at least you find this in major religions. And the man, as in we as humans, we are really waiting. You know, at least people who really believe in this all this, you know, books and etc., religious books, and nothing really happens. You know, nothing happens and nobody comes. So in waiting for God, and in our real life, so the who they remember that they may have, okay, as one of them remarks. So one of them remarks, what do they remark? Nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes, it's awful. Okay? Like most works in this mode, absurdism, the play is absurd in double sense, that it is grotesquely comic and also irrational and non-consequential. Okay? Because no matter what you do, it doesn't really make sense. It has no consequence. It is a parody not only of traditional assumptions of Western culture, but of the conventions of generic forms of traditional drama, even of its own inescapable participation in the dramatic medium. So even if you want to die, like for example, we see in this particular play named Waiting for God, one of the characters do want to die, you know, do want to sleep, but the other character is like, you know, tells him that no, don't leave me alone. You know? So even if you don't want to be a part of this absurd creation, we still, like, take us for example, you know, we don't want to. There's many countless people who have experienced suffering and absurdism, and still they are part of our life. You know, still they keep on living. So even when you want to, you know, you cannot really escape from this participation of the in the dramatic medium. The lucid way of edifying and pointless dialogue is often funny, pratfall, and other modes of slapsticks are used to give a comic cast to the alienation and anguish of human existence. Now, Samuel Beckett's prose fiction such as Malone Dice, The Unnameable 1960, sorry, The Unnameable, printed in 1960, it presents an anti-hero. So we often have anti-hero characters. So they present an anti-hero who plays out the absurd moves of the endgame of civilization in a non-work which tends to undermine the coherence of its medium, language itself. But typically Beckett's characters carry on. You know, we see people with we see, for example, in case of Waiting for Godot, they carry on. You know, even after experiencing those two parts, you know, when Godot never really comes, they still carry on. They still are still waiting. You know, so Beckett's characters carry on, even if in a life without purpose, trying to make sense of the senseless and to communicate the incommunicable. Good. Thoughts और बाकी हैं. Another French playwright of the absurd was Jean Genet. Jean Genet is a very big name in imagism, जितना मुझे याद है. Again, after Ezra Pound, she took over. So Jean Genet, who combined absurdism, again ये जो डिटेल मैंने अभी भी बोले about Jean Genet, Ezra Pound, imagism. I'm not really exactly sure about this, so might be incorrect. Anyway, so another French playwright of the absurd was Jean Genet, who combined absurdism and diabolism. Some of the early dramatic works of the Englishman Harold Pinter and American Edward Albee, who is very well known for that work, Big Bad, Virginia Woolf, what is that? Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Okay. American Edward Albee, and are written in a similar mode. The early plays of Tom Stoppard. Okay, so we have a very famous work by Tom Stoppard. References from Hamlet. Its name is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. If you have read Hamlet, then you know these two characters. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. 1966, and Travesties in 1974, exploit the devices of absurdist literature, absurdist theater, more for comic and philosophical ends. There are also affinities with this movement in many works that exploit black comedy और black humor. हम कभी ना कभी जो है ये भी जान लेंगे कि किसे बोलते हैं black comedy, किसे बोलते हैं black humor. दोनों सेम चीज़ें by the way. ओके, उसके नीचे दे भी रखा है. So black comedy, black humor. What is this? Baleful, naive, inept characters in a fantastic or nightmarish modern world play out their roles in what Ionesco called a tragic farce. This is what is known as black comedy, in which the events are often simultaneously comic, horrifying, and absurd. Examples क्या हैं? Examples are Joseph Heller's Catch-22, Thomas Pynchon's V, John Irwin's The World According to Garp, and some of the novels by the German Gunter Grass and American Kurt Vonnegut Jr. and John Barth. Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove 1964 is an example of black comedy in the cinema. Some playwrights living in totalitarian regimes used absurdism techniques to register social and political protest. For example, you can see Largo Desolato 1987 by the Czech Václav Havel, and The Island 1973, a collaboration of the South African writers Athol Fugard, John Kenny and Winston Nutshona, जो भी. सो ये रहा आपका पूरा absurdism. आई होप कि आपको समझ में आया होगा. नहीं भी आया होगा तो भी आ ही जाएगा, डोंट वरी, है ना. ओके, सो ये हमारा सीरीज़ का स्टार्ट है. पहला चीज़ है absurdism. हम हर रोज़ जो है एक टर्म करते जाएंगे, एटलीस्ट एक टर्म करते जाएंगे. मेरा भी रिविजन हो जाएगा, आपका भी हो जाएगा. दिस इज स्टार्ट, है ना. हम लिटरेचर में कुछ नहीं छोड़ने वाले, हम सब कुछ करने वाले हैं. थैंक यू फॉर बीइंग हियर. विल एंड दिस सेशन हियर नाउ. कल मिलते हैं.